Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 39 if that gives me anxiety. Yeah, I finally get a haircut, so in the video version of this, I'm not going to look like a slob. I'll look less like a slob. I still work from home all day and dress accordingly. Well, I've got a great episode lined up today. It's a fear that pretty much everyone has, right? Public speaking. I mean, if you don't have it, that's great. Good for you. But if you just Google, like, things that people are afraid of, public speaking is usually right at the top. Funny thing is, in some instances of my life, I'm completely fine with doing it. Like if I'm giving a presentation at work, not so bad because people probably aren't really listening. It's just, it is what it is. Or getting on stage and performing improv, I feel some butterflies, but I've learned to channel that in a positive way. But other times I'm horrified, like when I record podcasts or the intro, outro, that whole part of it, I have to make sure that Jamie is nowhere near, that I have to pretend that she's not listening, or I'm just so nervous because it's weird to hear between the walls that me making voices, and I try a lot of things in here that I edit out because I cringe too much. I like to keep it loose and see what happens. So yeah, I have to like psych myself up that she might hear me. Even though I'm upstairs, she's downstairs. But still, I get nervous if I think that she's coming or something. But that's my own insecurities. Anyway, to talk about public speaking, I have on my good friend, Colleen Carmody. You'll see I make a mistake calling her Colleen Deegan, her maiden name. I've known her since elementary school, and she's a nurse practitioner in a NICU and has to give presentations on case studies and trends, and just as the hospital's sort of getting together and huddling up about different things that are popping up or could pop up, and just so that they provide the best care that they can. But that can be pretty daunting, presenting to a bunch of doctors. I also have on Roquita Johnson, who's a public speaking coach. She's someone that you can hire to work with you to improve your public speaking, whether you're giving something like a TED Talk or you're want to be able to talk up in meetings or whatever it is, right? To just get a little bit better at a skill that's scary. You don't want to be terrified. I mean, that's giving you some practice so you're not terrified. I mean, it's good stuff. So yeah, she gives a bunch of tips and ways to improve and ways to think about public speaking that I think will be really helpful and hopefully bring the anxiety levels down. But before we get there, I want to remind you, if you're liking the show, to please remember to rate and review it on whatever platform you're listening on, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. There's a lot of these little apps that I don't know how people are finding this podcast on these unknown apps, but they are. And that's great. So if you feel so inclined, pop a rate and review on these little unknown podcast apps. You can check the show out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, or YouTube. You only want to listen to YouTube? Watch on YouTube now? You can. Judge for yourself how my haircut looks. And if you're liking the show and you want to support it and support me, you can make a donation through the Buy Me a Coffee link, which is in the description wherever you're listening. So, all right, I'm excited to finally tackle a fear that a lot of us have and hopefully help people feel better about when they have to give presentations or whatever it is. At least it's nice hearing how we all share this fear. Yeah, bringing us together. Well, as always, thank you so much for listening, and enjoy. Joining me now on the podcast, I have one of my best friends in the whole world, Colleen Deegan. Colleen, thank you so much for coming on. As I'm putting together the video, I'm realizing I referred to Colleen as Colleen Deegan, when in fact, that's her maiden name, when in fact her real name now is Colleen Carmody. I was at the wedding. I've known the couple for a very long time. I was in the wedding party. And I still messed up. Sorry about that. Colleen Carmody.
Hello.
How, I usually introduce people like how we know the person, but like with you, it's like there's so much more life where I know you versus when I don't. I mean, we
Yeah.
know each other from like elementary school.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
There's,
growing up around. What's the name of the neighborhood? It's funny that I'm like blanking on that.
I think it has a name, but I don't know what it is.
It's just like this small corner of Massapequa that like people just brush off.
Yeah.
Just like corner galley adjacent.
Yes, exactly. That's the name of it.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really excited to have you on here today. We're going to be talking about public speaking. So I think it's good for people to get a sense of what you do for work and when you might have to do public speaking at work.
I'm a nurse practitioner in a NICU in level 4 NICU, so it's like the highest level NICU there is,
And what is
there's
a
a lot
NICU,
of
just so people know?
a neonatal ICU.
So like babies that are having problems after birth?
Preemies or any baby
Okay.
that has an issue after it's born, basically. Any baby that's not completely fine comes to us, even if it's just
Okay.
a little bit.
Okay. Anything less than that's such a like
Anything
a
less than
quick
perfect
call.
will come to the NICU.
Yeah. Okay. But that sounds like pretty stressful, right? It's like, I mean, what's more important than saving an infant's life?
Yeah, I mean, I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just like a superhero. Don't worry about it. Yeah. So when do you do public speaking?
So there's a lot of lectures and stuff because we're a teaching hospital. So there's residents and fellows, and every day there's a lecture. And then occasionally they have us present at them or speak at them to do like case studies and stuff like that on certain patients that we've had.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to all be in person. Since COVID, some of them have been on Zoom like this.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting to transition back to in person. So it's a little bit of both, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a little less nerve-wracking when it's like this, but still when you see all the people that are on there, sometimes it's scary.
Yeah. I guess if it's like on the side, you can kind of like
You can see all the
ignore
doctors
it.
and everyone that's listening. Yeah.
Yeah. As opposed to them being right in front of you. But who is the audience? Is it doctors, like students?
Mainly doctors and other nurse practitioners, PAs, stuff like that.
Man, I'd be so nervous because like I'd be like, oh shit, they're gonna find out I'm a moron.
Well, that's actually like a big thing when you look up like doing what we do, like one of like imposter, like that you feel like you're going to be found out.
Yeah,
That, like,
imposter
I don't
syndrome.
actually know what
Yeah.
I'm doing.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So how do you battle that?
I don't know. I hate
You
when
hate
I have to do that stuff.
I'm
I don't
sick
think
that
I
day.
battle it very well.
Yeah. So and you're basically you're describing like trends in the NICU or what are you presenting? Like specific case studies?
So sometimes it's like a case study where something is on something that we don't see very often.
Mm.
And there's new research about it, or sometimes it's just things that we see all the time that you're presenting a topic to like a resident or like a newer doctor that's still learning about the NICU.
Okay.
Like respiratory distress in the babies or like something that you would see all the time. But there's also sometimes that we do it on like a very abnormal case. Like we had a baby that had a blood clot in the leg and had to have the leg amputated. So we did a whole presentation on that because you don't see it very often.
Right. Well, it's like you have to be in what you do, like aware of anything that could possibly be wrong in the human body. Like that's just.
It's actually amazing that anyone's born normal.
Yeah, it's that many
that's
kids.
how I feel.
Really, because you just see so many.
We see
things.
all the abnormal things. So
it's like, oh, light day. A couple people that were born fine. And so what is this audience? I mean, they're taking notes, like
sometimes I guess if it's a lot of times the way it works is there's like I said, the attendings are the head doctors and they'll be on there and then you'll present whatever. And then there'll be like a question section where a lot of the attendings already know what you're talking about. So they'll either be questioning you and what you're talking about or where your research came from, or if it's a new topic or something unusual, they'll just be kind of asking normal questions, where the residents and the ones that are learning don't usually ask too many. It's more of the people that already know what you're talking about, which is what makes it more scary, because it's like,
Oh yeah.
well, I don't need to teach them anything. They already know this. They're just listening to make sure I have all the right information.
Yeah. Do they ever give you like a standing ovation if it's like, and here's Colleen Deegan, she saved 3 babies from a blood clot the other week, like, and they just like...
No, the lectures are, so we don't present like that often. It's every now and then, and we kind of rotate it through because we all hate doing it. But
Okay.
the fellows do it a lot, and they don't usually like have like a standing ovation about it. It's more of like a topic presentation and then questions and arguments. Like people will start arguments back and forth about certain things that are like questionable, or there's so much research on this, and then I found research about this. So it's like more of like a debate.
Right. That makes sense. Like way more sense than like them treating it like it's a hockey game. Just like, yeah, you saved that kid.
Yeah, no. I mean, if there's something in the moment when that happens, they usually say it after. You don't not usually during it. Like they'll come up to you after and be like, "Oh, that was really great," or that,
Oh, nice.
But in the lecture, it's not really.
That's gotta feel good. Like someone who's an expert just coming up to and be like, "Love your work. Love what you did there."
Yeah, it feels nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what do you think? I mean, other than imposter syndrome, is that like mainly it that you feel public speaking is nerve-wracking?
Yeah, that's I feel like that for me. Like I feel like someone else is going to know more about what I'm talking about than I do, and they're going to be like, "What is?"
Yeah. I mean, I remember even in like English class when you get called on to read, like I
the chapter.
Hated that.
I used to count ahead to find out where my paragraph was, and I would sit there and study. I didn't listen to anything else anyone was saying.
Yeah.
I was so focused on my paragraph.
Well, especially like the pressure of that, right? Like in your adult life, you're presenting to doctors, but like in your childhood, like you're presenting to like people who are gonna like be mean, right? And bully you. And like I remember like stumbling from time to time and just people just like laughing out. Like the teacher happened to be like,
you stumble on a word and then forget it.
That's it.
No one ever does it. Yeah.
Right.
That's it.
Well, for the listeners, I also interviewed Roquita Johnson, who's a public speaking coach, helps people improve their public speaking. And so we have 3 clips with her. And so I think it's a good time to go to the first clip. So let me get this straight. In today's day and age, you're supposed to be drinking a ton of water, doing yoga, making sure you and your whole family is happy, strike a good work-life balance, exercise, read books, watch movies, eat healthy meals, be a big part of your community, and get 8 hours of sleep. It's unrealistic. It's too much. Well, that's why there's Instacart to take a little bit off your plate or help put a little bit on your plate. Oh, I'm so sorry. Using Instacart, you search for all your favorite foods and items that you need from the grocery store, fresh produce, all your favorites, everything you want, and they deliver it to you. They go to the store and do your shopping for you. Just remove it from your to-do list, just with a few clicks. And you'll have your items delivered to your door in as fast as an hour. It's pretty quick. And through the link in the episode description, they're offering free delivery on your first order over $35. But you got to make sure you click the link in the description. That tells Instacart that this show sent you and it helps support the show. And you can also take advantage of the free delivery. So yeah, be nice to yourself. Give Instacart a shot. Joining me on the podcast, I'm thrilled to be speaking with Roquita Johnson, who's a certified speaking coach. Oh my goodness. Roquita, I'm so excited to have you here with me.
Thank you, Patrick. I'm so excited to be here as well on this Friday.
Yeah. We are going to be talking about public speaking, which is something that causes a lot of people a ton of anxiety. And I'm sure as a speaking coach, you've seen people who are pretty shaken.
Absolutely. Public speaking is still one of those fears that somehow always seems to make those top 10 fears lists that comes out every year. Maybe it's not number 1 or number 2, but it's usually somewhere on that list. it's just one of those fears that we have. It's scary to be on display, so to speak, in front of other people and think that, oh, if we make a mistake, they're judging me. So it's definitely still one of those fears that you hear people talk about.
Yeah, and it's like usually it goes 1 and 2 with death, which is hilarious. That like the end of your life or giving a speech.
Yeah, I know. What's that old saying that people would rather be the person in the casket instead of the person delivering the eulogy.
That's so true.
There probably is some truth to that.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of pressure that gets put on people delivering eulogies as well. It's like wrap up their whole life, make me cry, make me laugh. Like it's a huge order. So I understand the pressure there. Well, why do you think people are so nervous about public speaking?
There's a few reasons, Patrick, not just one. I think the number one fear for a lot of people is fear of judgment. You know, I am afraid that if I make a mistake, they're going to throw tomatoes at me, which is absolutely not true. The audience is waiting for me to just trip up. They want me to mess up somehow, which could not be further from the truth. The audience wants you to do well. No one wants to waste their time. That's what I remind my clients. No one wants to waste their time when they're going to see a speaker deliver a presentation. They want to get value from whatever it is that you're talking about. They don't want to see a train wreck on stage. They don't want to see a speaker having a meltdown. That is not why the audience is there. They want to see you do well because they want to get the information that you do have. So no, the audience is not looking to tear us apart on the stage. So that's the first one. It's judgment. Another reason is perfection. I think this is a little more with women, a little more so than men. Just wanting to deliver a flawless presentation, wanting to have a seamless execution. I don't want a hair to be out of place. I don't want to trip over a word. I don't want to blink out. Well, of course, no one wants to forget anything that they've said, but it's just these expectations that we put on ourselves that cause undue stress. So wanting to be perfect, and you're never going to be perfect, just for the record, that's not going to happen. But even things like wanting to make sure that we don't bore the audience, that's also another reason that people get nervous. I want to make sure that I'm engaging them. I don't want to see that glazed over look in their eyes. That's going to make me even more nervous up here. So that is a big fear as well, wanting to keep the audience engaged. And also a fear of not going to be prepared when I go up there. Now, let me say this. If you did not prepare for your speaking engagement, then yeah, you should have some type of fear there. You deserve that in a way, because you most likely had enough time to prepare. So fear of not being prepared. But I think for a lot of us, we are prepared. We think that someone's going to ask us a question in the Q&A. We're not going to know how to answer it. Something else is going to come up that's going to make us look like we are not the expert. We don't know what we're talking about here. So those are just a few of the reasons that people really do have that fear of speaking in front of other people.
A little bit of imposter syndrome coming up there, especially when you're giving a speech that's supposed to be informational. I could see that being the case.
That's a big one, imposter syndrome. I've actually had some women say that to me when they schedule a discovery call. And one of the questions on the survey is, what are you struggling with? What do you need help with? And some will admit, I struggle with imposter syndrome. And these are women who, a lot of them, they are accomplished. They are working in corporate, and yet they still feel like I'm going to be found out or something like that. They're going to find out I don't really know what I'm talking about, or I'm some kind of fraud up here, which again, it couldn't be further from the truth. our mind really does play tricks on us. I'm just going to say that mindset is very important. Thoughts come at us, a million thoughts come at us each day. Some of them we're conscious of, we block off. Some of them that are negative and totally inaccurate, we just let them seep into our brain and we take them as truths when really, you really do have to be conscious of the thoughts that you're accepting of that come at us every day. So it's really guarding your mind.
Absolutely. Ooh. Do you hear a feedback loop? I can hear myself coming back at me, maybe through your speakers. Let's see. All right. Oh, it seems like it stopped. Okay. Geez. You're so right about the pressures that I've seen women put on themselves, especially in a corporate environment. I feel like, I mean, in the past couple of years, there's been a big lesson learned and a lesson that we're continuing to learn, but the amount of added pressure that women have on themselves in the corporate workplace to be perfect, because they're afraid that they're not going to get the opportunities, and the opportunities that they do get, they put so much pressure on themselves to not squander. And so, yeah, that has been certainly, I noticed that in my coworkers and my fiance. And so, yeah, that's something to be aware of and something to strive towards improving, to making women feel like this is not going to be a one-time shot, right? So it takes the pressure off, because it's ludicrous to expect that you would only get one shot to like try something like that or to speak your mind.
Exactly. Everything you just said there. And I saw something, I read something that was pretty interesting a few months ago. And I have to do a bit more research on this, but it was saying that more women are afraid than men of public speaking. I couldn't really substantiate that, not the way I wanted to. I put it like that. I really need to get some real information or evidence on it to support that. But I know that one reason that they gave is that more men, talking about in corporate here and work, men, even going decades past, have had more opportunities in general to do public speaking. Men were the ones who were in the workforce. They were the providers for their home. Not all women were working. So public speaking was almost normal for most men to do. And we've seen in the last few decades, obviously more women in the workforce, women in corporate, C-suite level jobs, and obviously they have to do more presentations the higher that you get. So obviously we're looking at things in the aggregate on the whole. Not every woman is fearful of public speaking or has imposter syndrome, but I just thought that was interesting. And there may be some truth to that. More men in general have had more opportunities to do public speaking. So, I think it also goes back to just that. It's just having opportunities to speak, because the more you do something, the better you will become. The more practice you put into it, it starts to become like second nature.
I do like the idea of what Roquita was saying about the audience isn't against you, right? It's they want the information that you have for them. And in your case, like that's especially true because they're at the core just trying to come up with ways to help babies, help figure out what the best course of action would be.
Yeah. I feel like it depends on certain audiences are different than others, and whichever way you're doing public speaking though.
Oh yeah.
Where I do feel like our audience is judging us though when I do my presentations.
Yeah, because they're like,
Maybe
you should have done this. I mean, because
way.
everyone has their own opinion.
Yeah, in a medical way though too, because there's also like, you can have your own medical opinion, but there could be 5 different right opinions.
That's true.
About one thing.
That's true. There's not always one. I mean, even if you think of like a stomach ache, there's not just like one way to like help a stomach ache, right? Like
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. That's funny though.
But and like certain, when you're doing like your improv and stuff, like the audience is there to have fun. They're not there to judge you. And I feel like it depends on the situation, but maybe they're not judging. I guess they're more trying to get the right information out there. It just feels like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, the pressure differences, and one is like, could be literally life and death. And the other one is like a couple assholes on stage and you paid $5,
Yeah.
But I like the idea and the messaging of when you're up there public speaking that you shouldn't expect to be perfect, right? Like no one gives a perfect speech. And it's kind of, I don't know, I find myself in that line of thinking, like, especially when I was doing like the cheddar videos and stuff like that, that I had to deliver perfectly and have like every mannerism or talking with my hands being perfect. And it's just a nice reminder. Like, I don't know if I'll ever get to that place where I'll be okay with that, with not being perfect, but it is a nice reminder that like people want to see a person speaking.
Well, I think being okay with the imperfection makes it a better presenter.
Yeah, because
like if you can just stumble over what you said and move on instead of like, I don't know, freaking out about it, it flows a little nicer.
That's true. And you can make like a joke like, well, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And people will root for you a bit harder, especially if you're just like, oh, I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, but I feel like you have to be able to do that.
What do you don't think that you're able to do that?
I think I just come off awkward. I don't know.
Well, they like, I guess these doctors should probably lean in with like the big like round of applause, like, Colleen, we love you. That's the difference of like you're saying about like an improv audience versus what you're up against. I mean, not that you're up against, but like who you're presenting to.
It's a different type of public speaking, I guess.
Yeah. It's that like, the audience is paying to be there and wants comedy. They want something good, right? Like, whereas
there is I'm trying to think of any other publics, but there is like conferences that we present at where it's more like that, where everyone's there just to like learn something new and hear what you have to say. It's a different type of presentation where people do clap and
okay.
I'm trying to think of other ways that I've done it in that setting. It's definitely different.
Yeah. But what about, do you ever have moments where, okay, something's going wrong with a baby and someone comes in and is like, okay, I need you to get me up to date. And you're like, okay, this, right, the checklist of like vitals or something like that, like, here's where we are kind of thing.
Yeah, like presenting like the patient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's nerve-wracking too, because that's just like in the moment and you want to make sure you hand off like everything that's important.
Well, I don't really ever hand it off, but I mean, when you're doing it, it's kind of like, what's important and what they want to know and what you need from them. That's really that I find easier, I guess.
Okay. Well, number one, that's very comforting. Number two, this is a further proof that I've watched too much television. That is like, I'm just like imagining ER. It's like, somebody get me up to date on this patient.
Yeah, I guess it depends on, like when you walk into like a crazy delivery where I feel like usually I'm more the one asking for the information, like how did this start? Like, where do you, and then we go from there and try and fix whatever was wrong. But if you call for extra help, you kind of know why you're calling for it. So it's easy to present what the issues are that you need help with.
Got it. So you're not like in the delivery room, like just in case. You're like, all right, we need Colleen to come in and help. Both. Okay.
So if it's a just in case thing, we kind of get all the information from nurses about the mom and the baby that's not born yet. If it's after the fact, then it's more like you kind of run in there and you're like, okay, what precipitated this? What happened before this? And there's like,
mom is here now. Give me the info. Yeah.
There's like 5, there's like main questions that you want to know.
Okay. Is it breathing? Is it? Yeah. We'll start there. What were your thoughts on, Roquita was talking about imposter syndrome, which you mentioned in the beginning, but also like the pressure that women may feel. Do you think that that's something that you feel and that you feel added pressure as a woman?
So in my profession, I understand how that is a thing with a lot of different ones, but I feel like there's a lot of really strong women that do what we do. And they kind of laid the groundwork where like, it's definitely a mixture of men and women, that even the head doctors, but I feel like the women are treated the same as the men in our field. There's like every now and then you'll hear them say like, oh, of course, well, he's a man, but like,
yeah,
for the most part, like a woman doing a presentation versus a guy, or teaching anyone about a topic, like I think they're treated equally in my job. But I do see what she's saying in certain jobs.
Yeah, well, cross that right off the list. The first job without misogyny, right there. The medical profession.
I mean, mild, I guess, but I think for the most part, I feel like the women that do neonatology are stronger women. That's just maybe the personality for that job. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true, because there's no time for bullshit, right? Like no matter what, like anyone in that profession, like regardless of gender, has to just be like, I block everything out. Like we got to focus on the task at hand.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I think it's a good time to go to the second clip where Roquita starts giving some ideas for how to improve your public speaking. See how I rolled with that?
Yeah. See?
Yeah.
Very nice.
What makes a good public speaker?
Public speaking in general, content, delivery, structure, I would say those are the three bedrock elements, the foundation of public speaking. So a good public speaker, you're going to take from those different areas. The content, for one, like I said, what content needs to go in here? What's the core message? That's the first thing I like to establish with my client, because a lot of them will have something in general, maybe a nebulous idea about what I need to talk about. But if you don't know what the one message is that you need to hit, you're going to go in every direction, and this is not going to support the bottom line message. And you're going to confuse the audience. You're going to ramble. You're going to go off track. No one's going to know what you're saying. So content, and that, when we talk about that, content is very key. What do we need to put in this presentation? When we talk about delivery, how are we looking at our verbal and our nonverbal, AKA body language? That is important there. So how do we engage the audience with our words? Vocal variety in that sense. And then our body, how our stage presence is when we actually own a stage, when we pace the stage. Are you just standing still? Are you using gestures? Things like that all come in delivery. The structure of the presentation, you can have the best content in the world, but it does need to have order. It needs to have a logical flow to it. The audience needs to be able to follow you easily. So that's really what makes a good public speaker. A lot of things fit, almost everything, quite honestly, fits into those three boxes. When we talk about engagement, because that's a big thing with the audience, how do I engage my audience? How do I interact with them? A lot of that will fall under delivery. Your content, how do I manage my nervousness? We will talk about that. I'll give you a few techniques for that too. Something's going to work for you. Not every suggestion that I give when it comes to managing nerves may work, but something's going to work for you. So I just wanted to add that there.
That's great. Also, I feel bad for people who are listening to this and not seeing how you're delivering everything that you've been saying to me, because there's a corresponding hand movement. You're using your smile. You're changing how your facial expression is. It's incredible. It's incredibly engaging how you're speaking right now. So I just want people to kind of get a feel for how you just said that, because it was incredibly charming. That was wonderful. Thank you for all the information. You kind of led me right to my next question, which is, this is a podcast about anxiety and mental health and trying to make things a little less scary where possible. So I think at the end of the day, people understand, all right, if I'm prepared, we go through these coaching sessions, I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be feeling good. I get out there and I stumble, right? Like that could always happen. Do you have tips for people, I guess, for just generally releasing their anxiety or alleviating their anxiety? And then maybe something that they could do in a worst case scenario where they come out of the gate stumbling and their confidence is shot?
I do. So I have a few tips that will help people to manage the nervousness. And if you notice my wording just now, I said manage nervousness. I didn't say eliminate nervousness. Why? Because even the best speakers, the top speakers in the world, they'll tell you they still feel a little bit of nervousness, that little, that tensing up slightly, or the butterfly in your body, in your stomach, right before they hit the stage. So nerves are for everybody.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll make that a slope. Nerves are for everybody, but it's how you manage them, because we so often think about nerves in a negative way. But you know what? Nerves can also be a good thing. It depends on how you think about them.
It's so true. Just to jump in real quick, I've been performing for more than 10 years on stages, and I used to be afraid of and that nerve, and now I want that feeling. I want. It's like a drug. It's a very positive rush of adrenaline. So yeah, I just wanted to back up what you were saying for people. Like, I was scared as hell, and now I look forward to getting on stage. You just feel alive. So yes, I'm sorry. Continue. Yeah.
You feel alive. That's exactly what I tell my clients. I'm like, if you actually don't feel at least a little bit of nervous, I'm not talking about full-blown paralysis, but a little bit of nerves, still a couple butterflies in your stomach, then I probably would worry about you. When you are at least a little nervous, that shows that you really do care about your presentation, about your public speaking performance. So we don't want to think that nerves are bad or you should not have any. No. That means that you do care about what you're about to speak to this audience about. Also, nerves and excitement are really the same sensation in your body, if you think about it. That tingling that we feel when we're excited about something, and then also that tingling we feel when we're a little nervous, it really is the same sensation. So I like to tell my clients to channel it differently. I'm not going to think about nerves in a negative way, that I'm going to trip up here, I'm not going to do well because I'm nervous. No, I'm going to think about nerves as I'm excited to speak to my audience. These are my friends here. That's another tactic you can use. Think of the audience as friends here. I'm excited to add value to them today. I have something important to tell them. So you want to channel that nervousness into excitement. When we start getting nerves, it's usually that stress hormone, it's cortisol that starts coursing through our veins. But if we think about it in a positive sense, it really can help the positive endorphins that happen, the dopamine and all of that stuff. So it really is a mind thing. Like how they say it's all mental. We used to hear that when we were growing up. It's all mental. I didn't get that when I was a kid, but when I got to be an adult, then I understood what they mean. It really does start with your mentality about everything. So mindset is the first thing that I teach my clients, aside from being prepared, like you said, because you got to be prepared first. Then it's mindset. How do you think about it? Don't think that the audience is here to waste their time, like we touched upon earlier. They are here to see you. They are excited to see you. They want to get the value that you have for them. But other ways that I also teach my clients, and this is before they hit the stage, if you feel like you need to do something to calm yourself, one technique is called sense memory. I don't know if you heard of that, Patrick, sense memory.
No, I haven't.
Okay, so this is a tactic that is often used by actors. Some actors were trained in this, like it's not a brand new technique, but speakers can also use it as well. It's when you recall an experience that you've had before in which you want to exhibit the same quality to the audience that you had in that experience before. So here's an example. When I won the Toastmasters because I'm a lifelong Toastmaster. I don't know if you've heard of that organization, but public speaking and leadership organization. So when I competed in the humorous speech contest for my district in 2014, so it was 8 of us competing for the number one winner spot for that year. I won out of 8 people competing on the stage.
Congratulations.
For the humorous contest. So that's one memory that I will call back to. Why? Because that was a time where I felt confident on the stage. I felt like I owned that stage, and I was funny, like naturally funny, not that forced humor stuff. So that's a moment where I'm going to recall that experience, because I want to exhibit the same qualities to the audience I'm speaking to right now. I want to show them how confident and calm I'm up here, how I own the stage effortlessly, and how I am funny. So that's an example of sense memory, recalling back an experience where you want to exhibit the same quality to this audience that you had before. Another tactic that you can use is visualization, which you probably heard of that. Visualization is pretty common with people, but visualization is simply rehearsing mental images in your mind. It's you seeing yourself having or doing whatever it is that you want in that moment. In this example, having a successful presentation. So you're literally going to walk yourself through everything that you see happening leading up to that presentation, at the presentation. You would want to sit in a comfortable chair. You'd want to be in a quiet space. You want to close your eyes, and you literally want to walk yourself through what that successful presentation day of looks like. You know, I think about, for example, if I'm waking up in the morning and I'm feeling excited about the presentation, I'm excited to speak to this audience. I'm driving down the road to the hotel conference room, and my favorite song comes on the radio, which makes me feel even happier. I'm at the hotel conference room, and I'm looking around at all these seats set out for the people who will soon be here to hear me speak. I see myself on the stage. My body gestures are on point. My vocal variety is flawless. I get a standing ovation. That's all visualization. It's literally walking yourself through what you see yourself having or doing. And here's the funny thing. The brain cannot distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. There is scientific research to back up visualization. So it's not all some hokey stuff. There is some real evidence to back it up.
Incredible. Yeah, I mean, just watching you go through all of that, it got me confident, me being like, yeah, like I could do this. But it's so true. I remember back, this is a long time ago, but back when I was an athlete, I would do that and run through. I was a goalie in hockey, and I would run through scenarios in my mind. And when I did that, I felt calmer and I was definitely more successful. So I think that applies to, I don't know, building something, thinking you're going to be able to do whatever. It really is very powerful. So it's great that you have a bunch of tricks, and it sounds like you really can help out people feel a bit more comfortable up there.
Absolutely. And just to answer your question about what do you do once you're actually there on the stage, because I don't want to forget that you asked that as well. One thing to always bring on the stage with you, I don't care if you are the best speaker in the world, but especially if you are a newer speaker, it is okay to bring an outline to the stage with you, an outline of your speech, maybe some note cards with a few of the major points on each bullet card, not a whole word for word of your speech printed, but the major parts of your speech, an outline of it. Have it placed nearby on a table or on a podium. If you absolutely blink out, first of all, don't get flustered, don't make a big deal out of it. You can calmly refer to your notes and just go back, pick back up where you left off. The audience is very forgiving. Most people don't want to be on the stage themselves. So they are very forgiving. So if you really do have a mind blank, don't get flustered. Don't make a big deal out of it. Let the audience know, hey, I got too excited for a moment here. So apparently I need to just go and get my place back again so I can continue on. Just
You're gonna laugh.
Keep going with it.
People
Keep going
with
with
you.
it.
Yeah.
They'll be with you.
Look who we got here. It's our friends at My Software Tutor. Can Excel be my friend? Many people have wondered this for years. The answer is yes, it can. Excel doesn't have to be like the friend that your mom makes you hang out with in elementary school. It's weird. It's always stuff with boogers, right? What's wrong? What's up? Why is that kid always eating boogers? Their house always had the best snacks too. And there he is. Boogers. Well, Excel doesn't have to be like that weird kid. Unless you were that weird kid. Were you? Be honest. You know. I'm not actually asking. I can't hear your response, but you know. And it's okay if you were. Just take it easy with the boogers. Just talking about boogers to get ad read. Don't worry. They didn't write that part. That was an improvisation. My Software Tutor offers 3 levels of real-time Zoom-based courses with a live instructor. They deliver practical, functional business skills in a friendly and supportive environment. It can be daunting, right? You need that supporting environment to learn Excel. There's no stupid questions. It could be really difficult. And as we know, when we talk about it on this podcast all the time, it could be really daunting to learn something new and put yourself out there. So think of this as like a kindergarten for learning something new and helping your job prospects. Or be better at the job you already have. Get that raise, get that whatever, take pictures of it for Instagram. Yeah, that'll be cool. Keeping it as vague as possible so that you can input your own. Just making a mad lib of your own desires. These courses will increase your marketability, whether you're an employee, job seeker, consultant, or contractor. Register at mysoftwaretutor.com and use the promo code POD20 to save 20% off all registrations. Thank you so much to My Software Tutor. Yeah, guys, take advantage of that 20% off and confidently list Excel on your resume.
So the morning that you have a presentation to the Angry Doctor group, what are you doing to help yourself, right? Roquita has this idea of how people can help themselves, but I'm curious what your routine is. It looks like.
Panic.
Just panic all day and then continue to panic while
reread my presentation over and over, I guess.
Okay, I think that's good. I mean, that makes sense, right? To reread it, like having that memory of like, okay, especially if you get lost, right? Like by rereading it, I don't know how your memory works, but like sometimes I can like actually see the words on the page.
Yeah, like photographic. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's got to be helpful.
Yeah, probably.
You're like living in the stress of that moment right now, just like. So what is your brain going through at that point? Is it like, oh man, I'm gonna fuck this up. I'm gonna they're gonna know I'm an idiot. I mean, this is your mind. I'm not saying it's just like you being mean to yourself. Yeah,
I definitely don't get excited. It's more, it's definitely all nerves and just wanted it to be over.
Yeah. I understand that feeling. I mean, and has it been any different at the times that you've presented at like the conferences where you're saying people are applauding?
It's the conferences is a different feel, I guess, because it's more like people who want to be, not that you don't want to be, I mean, no one really wants to be at work, but the conferences are like all voluntary. People are coming there to
learn and stuff. Yeah.
So it's a little bit lighter, I guess.
Okay. So you don't feel like in that moment that it's as heavy, like you're able to enjoy it a little bit more?
Yeah. Like the last one that I did was not the conference, last presentation I had to do. I did it with someone. It was on a Zoom and I was trying to like get our PowerPoint ready and get everything mad. And then somehow I interrupted one of the attending surgeons' PowerPoints as I was trying to add mine on. They're like, "What just happened here?" And we were like, "Shit!" Like, it's just like the surgeons are so like I don't know. The surgeons are definitely the most pompous doctors. And when you do those presentations, you're presenting to like our whole unit, and then all of surgery, and then also maternal medicine. So it's like the mother doctors, the baby doctors, the surgeons, and it's like a big group of people. But that sucked. But it was on Zoom, so it wasn't as scary, I guess.
It's like the least, like, what did it interrupt for 13 seconds? Like,
I know, but he wasn't happy.
Oh, yeah. Surgeons just feel like a star overpaid athlete, just like, I'm the big guy here, right? You want a spleen removed, you got to come to me.
Yeah, they're definitely, they have a different mindset.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry that happened, because that's kind of crazy. It's like, oh, sorry, the problem solved, right? Well, so then what did you think about, what she was saying about like trying to like channel the nerves towards excitement? Because like how it like resonates in your body, it's pretty similar, right? Anxiety and excitement kind of feel the same. Do you think that that's something that you could potentially start using?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to.
Yeah.
I feel like it doesn't change. I feel like after I'm done with it, then it changes to excitement that I'm done with it and I did it and it went well. And those nerves kind of like shift. I don't know if I could do it before, but I mean, that would be nice.
Yeah. Well, I guess maybe even like recalling the memory of like every time you've been successful and been like using that feeling that you're describing right now of like, oh yeah, usually after these things, for the most part, I feel great and I feel excited. So it's like, I'm going to nail it. Like I've nailed it a bunch of times, and just recalling that feeling in the beginning.
Yeah. I think if I did it more frequently, like we do it like a couple times a year or something, but I guess the recall thing is a good idea.
Yeah. And I know, I definitely think that is something interesting for you to try. But even, I perform here at Theater 99. And when I'm like going out to ask the audience a question, I'm like usually really excited. Like when I walk out on the stage, and then when I start talking, like the floor drops out and like I get really nervous, but then it like builds back up. I always go through that like roller coaster, and I know I'll be here, right? I'll get excited and I'll feel confident, but there's just like the first word that comes out of my mouth every time, I'm like, fuck, I'm an idiot. I screwed it up. Like, I don't know why it still has that like turmoil, but it's also, I'm going to be very honest, it's kind of like a drug, like that drop and then like the pick back up. It just feels great.
Well, you must like it, doing what you do.
Yes.
You never really seem nervous though when you get up there.
That's the interesting thing. People say that like, I feel so nervous, but like everyone's like, oh, you look so like calm up there. And it's like, wow, my sweat says otherwise. Well, I think it's a good time to go to the third clip, which is where we get some help about like ums and ahs and what it's like to work with a public speaking coach. Hey, do you wish you were a thoughtful card person but don't have the time or energy? Right? You want to be that person that has a hobby, full-time job, crushing it in the job, has kids, has a family, has a dog, whatever it is, and still, right, sends that message, sends a card, handwritten, something that makes you laugh and cry. How does that person do it? I don't know. But maybe it's Cardist. Maybe he's born with it. Maybe it's Cardist. The Cardist Studio is your personal assistant. That's how you get it done, right? Somebody helps you out with it. That's okay. The end result is still the end result. You're thinking, oh, should I send them a card? That's it. From there, you just jump onto thecardiststudio.com and tell them exactly what just popped in your head. Your thoughtfulness. The Cardist Studio will get your personalized message handwritten into the card and in the mail for you. You're busy. You're doing a lot of other things. It's not like they're going to tell on you. And the person's going to be thrilled. I've gotten one of these and it filled my heart with joy. Even better, it's fast, it's custom, and it's a total life changer. Hey, you're a thoughtful card person now. Look at you. New achievement unlocked. Just go to thecardiststudio.com and you can even use the promo code AnxietyPod
for 10% off all orders.
The women who come to me, I do have them fill out a consultation. For a consultation call, they answer a few questions online on my website. So that at least gives me an idea of where they're struggling with, and I can get into more detail with them when I actually have the conversation with them. That's also good because if they're coming to me with, something related to public speaking or presentation skills that's not really in my wheelhouse, then I can refer them to someone else who I know would be better. For example, if you're saying, well, I want to do a TEDx talk coming up soon in my town, I want to prepare for that. I haven't done a TEDx talk yet myself. TED Talks are a whole different category in and of themselves. It's public speaking, but it's a whole different category. And there are coaches who deal specifically with that. So having them fill out the survey gives me an idea of what they need help with. It also gives me an idea of what their goals are. What do they want to do with their public speaking exactly? It's rare for someone to just say, I just decided to take public speaking just to feel more comfortable. Yes, that would be great if that happens because we can all be better at this skill, but they usually have some particular reason that they are asking. And then it lets me know also how ready they are to start working with the coach on my survey. I ask them just to rate themselves 1 to 5, how ready they are. And then once we get on the actual phone call, which is 30 minutes at the most, I can dig in a little deeper with them to find out what is the crux of the issues, what are they really struggling with. And once I decide that, okay, this would be a good coaching client relationship, this is someone who I can help, then at that point, really the ball is in their court if they want to make the investment and if they would like to start working with me. I give them 2 ways they can work with me if they want to do what's called a presentation intensive, where it's kind of like, oh, I have a presentation coming up quickly and I need to work on this. They're most likely not somebody who's new to it, but they can work with me in that way. And that's just 4 hours of us together. And then there's also a 12-week coaching package. Obviously, that's for someone who needs a lot more help. But before we even start working together, I'm going to establish your goals. What is it specifically? I want you to give me a couple goals that you really want to hit during our time together. You cannot tell me 5 and 6 goals because even during the course of 12 weeks, you need to focus on a couple things that you really want to hit. Of course, during our time together, we're going to be able to hit a lot of other things in the process that you probably wanted to work on, but it really is client driven a lot. Coaching is a little bit different from consulting, you bringing me in, I'm telling you what you need to do. Coaching, I am still going to tell you what you need to do to get where you want to be, but this really is a partnership. I am letting you set the end goal here. I'm going to show you how to get there. I'm going to show you the tools, the methodologies, the formulas, the structures, everything that you need to get there. So I really I'm very particular about who I work with, in particular about the goals that they set, because I want to make sure that they do reach their goals. So a lot of it is driven by them, the end goal, but I'm going to show you how to get there.
Love that. That's great. So we touched on this a little bit before. I'm terrible at times, my like, us, and ums. Is that just something that I should be focusing on at all times and not let ever drop from the forefront of my mind? Or how do I improve that as I do it again? I guess I'll call it mistake or bad habit, probably is a better way to describe it.
Here's the thing, like with, I think most things in life, it's all about moderation or frequency. Dropping an occasional or is not going to kill you. The audience is not going to get up and leave, and that's not going to happen. During this interview, I'm sure I said or probably a couple times. The problem is when you say these filler words so often that they are hindering the audience from hearing your message, that's when there's an issue. And sometimes we don't know it's an issue unless someone tells us or we watch the recording of our speech. If you are self-aware, that's great. There are some people that are, but for others, you really might need someone to tell you, or you might need to watch the evidence yourself. So what happens with crutch words? I call them crutch words or filler words. Why do we use them? For one, aren't a lot of people uncomfortable with silence, it seems? They are uncomfortable with any lulls in a conversation. Anything that they're saying, like they feel like I need to fill this space with something. And that's where the ums, the uhs, the so's, the long so's or the long and, that's when those come in. People are not comfortable with silence. So that's really the first reason why someone would use it in the first place, when really it's about pausing. And that's what I tell people, like they're looking for a magic pill. And I tell them, no, you don't want a pill. The P that you want to use is called pause. You just need to pause for a second after you finish saying the last phrase, the last thought that you have there, and you're trying to gather yourself to figure out what it is that you need to say next, that you wanted to say next. Pause for a second. It is not going to kill you, and you will pick right up. You'd be surprised. Plus, the audience might think that the pause is intentional. You could look like you really are in deep thought, and that's another trick. If you really do lose your space and you don't want to say the crutch word, pace the stage for a moment and appear to be in deep thought. The audience won't be the wiser, and then you can pick right up without using a crutch word. Another reason that we may use crutch words, it's our minds racing so fast ahead of our mouth. That's how I like to call it. You got the thought in your head. I do know what I want to say. I didn't forget. I know what I want to say, but it's just like a rush. There's some kind of disconnect there with your mind and your mouth. Something is racing, and it's most likely your thoughts. So you just need to actually calm yourself down, calm your speech down, slow it down a little, give yourself a moment, and then go on to your next thought. It's just that we want to fill it with something. We want to fill that space there. Pausing is very effective to help prevent these filler words.
That's great advice. I also think that giving a pause allows the audience a moment to absorb your point and like breathe it in and catch up with you for a second. That's not such a bad thing for them to just have a minute. They see you taking a pause, and it allows their brains to reset a bit, because at times I've seen public speakers kind of throw too much information at once and not understand that the audience doesn't have the same expertise and needs a little bit of a slower pace or some time to digest.
Absolutely. I love that you brought that up. Pauses do serve their purpose. They really do. And you gave one great example. One reason that you would want to use a pause is, especially after you've asked the audience a question or you've said something very thought-provoking, where you really should want the audience to marinate on it a bit, you need to pause after you ask that question or after you say that poignant phrase, that thought. Pause, let them take in what you just said. Don't immediately step on your thoughts, is what I call it, when you're trying to go from one part to the other really fast. It's like you're trampling on their thoughts a bit. No. Give them time to really absorb what you have just said. After all, you put this speech together. There are going to be certain points that you do want to stick with the audience. And how can they do that? If you let them, if you give them a moment to think about it. But again, people usually don't, because quiet can be uncomfortable for some speakers. But the more you speak, the more you will get out of that. But pausing is effective to let people absorb what you have just said. Pausing is very effective. Also, when you need to get the audience's attention back, that silence there, some people don't think about that. When you see the audience starting to drift off, they look like they're becoming distracted, they're looking at their phones. There may even be conversations that are starting to happen at the tables. Let's just say you're in some type of room where there are tables of people they're listening to you. You see conversations starting to sprinkle around the room. Instead of what a lot of people do is they may try to, keep calling back the audience like, hey, we're going to start. Pause. That's an easy way to get people back into you, the focus into you. It sounds counterintuitive, but if we be quiet for a moment, if we're quiet, the audience's attention will be directed back towards us, and they will start to pay attention to what we are saying, because they're going to wonder why you stopped speaking. Mm-hmm. They heard you speaking all this time, probably weren't paying attention, but the fact that you paused, and you paused long enough to get their attention, that's good. That can bring them back in.
Absolutely. You just paused, and I felt a shift in my brain, just try to pay attention to you more, where it was just like, whoa, like just something that was going on in my subconscious of like, oh no, she needs more of my listening here. What's happening? So yeah, I think it's definitely effective. This has been an incredible conversation. I just want to make sure, is there anything you think I'm missing? Anything that I may have left out that you think is important for people to know?
Tell people to get the help that they need if they feel like it's really a problem. There is somebody out here who can help you with almost any issue on this earth, right? Mm-hmm. There's an expert for everything. So I would say, if you feel like I really do need to improve my public speaking and presentation skills, and you've tried a college course, because haven't most of us, if we went to college, we probably had a course, and that course is 20 years ago, and you were done with it. So even if it's a course or another course that you take, or maybe it's videos, because some people will start watching a bunch of videos on YouTube for tips. But if that is not getting you where you need to be, because that can be a good start, then you may want to explore actually getting a professional to help you. And like I said, everybody is different. They have a different focus that they want to get better with, whether it's a TED Talk or you are someone in a professional environment. Just find a coach, find a trainer who is best for you. It's going to help you in leaps and bounds than you struggling yourself to figure out a plan that's going to help you. So that's my recommendation. That's the best
advice. Yeah, I think that is the theme of this podcast, is that you don't have to do anything on your own. There are experts out there, and we can make the world an easier, less scary place if we just acknowledge and reach out to the people who are capable of helping us.
Yes, totally agree.
How can people get a hold of you if they would like to work with you? And I think, if you have a website or social media you'd like to mention, I'm sure people will like to get a hold of you.
Yeah, so my website is roquitajohnson.com. So just my name. I am also very active on Instagram at Roquita Johnson _public speaking. I am also on LinkedIn if anyone would like to connect with me. My name is spelled Roquita, so Roquita Johnson. As far as I know, I'm the only Roquita Johnson on there, so that's the good part. You can easily find me. I also have a YouTube page, again, under my name, Roquita Johnson, where I have a lot of videos there. If you'd like to check out some tips, they are there. If you go to my website as well, I also have a freebie for anyone that signs up for my email list. It's more so geared towards women, but definitely if you want a freebie on how you can start improving your public speaking skills, each day over 30 days, because that's what the focus of that freebie is. Maybe you just need to start somewhere. You can sign up for my email list, and that freebie will be sent right to you.
Incredible. Yeah. And you also have a book that you've written. Tell me about the book.
Yes. So I am a co-author of Speak Up, The Ultimate Guide to Dominate in the Speaking Industry. It is myself along with 30 other experts in the public speaking field. So this book is great if you are an aspiring, emerging, or current speaker, and you really are serious about the speaking industry. I'm going to tell you about a keynote speech, what goes into that, but also the tips are good for any type of speech that I give in my chapter. There's another person who's going to talk to you about what you should have on your speaker website. Someone else is going to tell you what you need to have as far as public relations, media, and all that, so that you can really get visibility, get yourself out there. Someone else is going to talk about things for your speaking business, like insurance and all those other things that we don't want to think about, but we do need to think about. So it really is, it's just a wealth of knowledge from all the different authors who we all are in public speaking, but we have different specialties. So that book is out. It's through the Black Speakers Network. That's who did this book. We're all a part of that. And yeah, it's great. It's on Amazon. You can also get the book on my website as well if you want a personally signed copy. If you go to Amazon, I can help you there with the personally signed copy. But if you go to my website, I can send it to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for all that. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Patrick.
And the like, ums and ahs. I mean, so whenever the guest of this podcast is okay with using the video, I just like run the video out on YouTube. But for the audio versions, I go through and I clean up some of the likes, uhs, and ums. And it's made me, I guess it's been helpful for me as a public speaker to like listen to myself. But it's crazy how many people have like a big problem with that. Is that something that you have an issue with?
I don't know. I feel like I'd have to listen to myself.
I'll let you know when I edit.
Once you're aware of it, then I feel like it's all you hear.
It
if you're
is.
listening to someone speak and you start, like you said, listening and counting it and trying to clean it up, you realize how much some people actually say it.
Yeah. Like if I'm listening to a podcast or, you know, times that I've gone to conferences, if people are doing that too much, I've heard nothing you've said.
You can't focus on anything else.
I can't focus on anything else. Yeah. It's as if they're just like every once in a while, like putting nails on a chalkboard. It begins to like start to hurt.
Yeah. When you become aware of it, it definitely does.
Yeah. But I think like it's a good reminder to just be silent. You know, you can just sit there for a second and collect your thoughts. And it's not like people are like, as I said, like 4 times in the sentence, just, well, give me more information. You know, if you're just like, and I'm going to continue with my next thought, it seems polished. And Roquita makes some good points where it's like, you seem like you're deep in thought, or you seem like you're giving them a chance to breathe in what you're saying, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm curious your thoughts on pauses. Like, do you feel that that's something that you could bring to your public speaking?
I think it's definitely a good tip if you're caught up in something that you're reading or presenting, and instead of, like you said, just the drawn out words, just pausing for a second, letting everything you said sink in, or taking a moment to move on. It probably sounds better than trying to fill it with a like
right,
like that.
Yeah,
definitely sounds more educated, I think, than using those
it does. I think so too, even though I am incapable of doing it, though I do it sometimes on the stage, especially in improv or sometimes in sketch where you're supposed to have your lines remembered, but you can use it to like comedic effect where you're just like, and the tension builds, right? And people are like, wait, what is happening? Next? Yeah, you just use it to your advantage. When you're up there, are you reading the full speech, or do you have like note cards, or what do you have with you?
Sometimes it's a PowerPoint that you're reading off of. Sometimes you're reading off your own note cards about a case. Like if you're doing a case presentation, usually there's a PowerPoint that goes with it though, even if that's the case. But sometimes you kind of read your own thing, and then that will give you like bullet points. So it depends on the situation.
Okay. But you're not like reading a full PowerPoint. Like the PowerPoint has like bullet points up there and you're like filling in the gaps.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Usually,
I was like,
yeah.
I'm going to have to condemn you because it's like whenever, I mean, even at work, when someone like reads the full PowerPoint, it's like, why? What, because if we get the point of what you're trying to say, and you can feel that from us, like move on. We get
yeah. If there's too much information on there, it's not even worth having the PowerPoint.
Exactly. It's like, why did you make that? It's just put a picture up of yourself and because that's all you want here. Well, I'm curious your thoughts on working with a public speaking coach. It's not something I ever thought I would do, but I see the value in that. I feel like I would be so awkward working with a coach. But I could see the value, right? Like I could see like it's a way to get practice. Like you were saying, you only public speak a few times a year, right? For me, like I think
if you did it a lot, I think it would be worth it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I think it would be helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
And even if it's just to catch, like you said, like help you with like those filler words. I feel like that's a big thing for a lot of people. And if you have a lot, I mean, I think if you do it a lot, you probably don't have as many nerves about it as I do, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's like,
because like Kevin, he presents meetings and stuff all the time. He's never nervous. He doesn't care. He just gets up. He doesn't bother him at all.
Well, let's listen here, industrial athletes. Kevin, for the listeners, is Colleen's husband and another friend of ours your husband and another friend of mine, I guess. From
he's my friend.
Yeah, I would hope he's your friend. Yeah. This podcast is meant to make things seem a little bit less scary, but I don't think that just listening to a few clips is going to completely change. But I'm curious if you do have any takeaways or thoughts, or how your perspective has changed on public speaking, if at all.
I mean, I think the hearing the things that you might do right kind of makes you feel better. Like when she was talking in one of the clips about visualizing what you're gonna present and all that stuff, and like shifting the nerves to excitement would be helpful if you could do that.
Yeah, I feel like you definitely could do that. You're certainly capable of doing that. I mean, it's just probably takes some practice. Like instead of like panicking the morning of like just remembering that, okay, like, I've done this before, I'll do it again, and everything's going to work out, and I'll go home and say hello to Kevin and the kids.
Yeah. I think it could help. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Colleen, I've really enjoyed this conversation. It's been great doing this with someone I've known such a long time. And thank you so much for coming to hang out.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Great. Yeah, you nailed it.
My fear of public speaking was so much worse when I was younger. I remember like high school. It'd be unthinkable. I'd be like trembling if I had to say my name when the teacher was taking attendance. And now it's not so bad, but I think that just comes with age where you stop caring, right? I'm 35. It's exhausting to be terrified about being judged about everything. There's still plenty of anxiety, but not to the degree that it used to exist. You just stop caring, right? And you're like, I know, Pat, if you're watching the video, yeah, I'm looking at you. Yeah, I can tell you've given up. Well, before I get to the weird thing that was causing me anxiety this week, I want to thank Colleen for coming on. I know she was pretty anxious and hasn't really done anything like this, so that's awesome. Pushing past, your fears, and thank you for doing that. And thank you to Roquita for providing such great insight and ways that people can help improve how they speak publicly. And that's all great stuff. So yeah, thank you to both guests. Did I add syllables? It sounds like I did. I don't know why. Quick reminder that if you're liking the show and you want to support it and support me, there's the Buy Me a Coffee link. It's a way of making a donation to the show to help me keep it going. If you're looking to sign up for Instacart, you can do so through the link in the description. By doing it that way, you're telling Instacart this show sent you, which also helps support the show. You can also check out my Software Tutor. There's the link in the description there, and you can use the promo code POD20 to get 20% off. And finally, there's the Carta Studio with the promo code AnxietyPod for 10% off. Now, okay, the weird thing that was causing me anxiety this week was coming up. It's Jamie's birthday. It's tough. It's tough to, you want to make your significant other feel special and happy and do something fun, maybe some spontaneity. But yeah, it's just, I did like the heavy ordering and planning and all that stuff over this weekend, and fingers crossed. No, I think I nailed it. Just simple. I rented a boat out of downtown Charleston, and we're going to be able to drive around for 4 hours. That should do it, right? That sounds like a good day to me. Got her some good stuff. I can't say it in case she's standing outside the door, which is what my anxiety thinks is occurring. Oh, yeah, I'll let you know how I did. But yeah, that was causing me anxiety all week and months before. Yeah, it starts creeping in around March when I'm like, oh, her birthday's in August. I better start planning. As soon as it's over, the anxiety can kick in for the holidays, for Christmas. It never takes a break. Well, as always, thank you so much for listening. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you on Thursday.